So another random, this one's going to be a little bit more about just general fitness and food in a healthy way, and some supplements, I guess. So the common things that people come to any trainer for usually is usually weight loss, just trying to feel better, look better, maybe work around any injuries or anything like that. And they need extra help, or trying to be more efficient in the gym and not waste as much time, or they feel a little bit lost and not know what to do, or the gym is really intimidating, especially depending on what kind of gym the people who are in the gym, if they're extremely fit, and it can be very intimidating and feel like you have imposter syndrome. Oh my God, Yuki. Too much. Okay. So the main things, depending on where you're at currently, because the answer is going to be, it depends. That's why it's so confusing for a lot of people out there trying to navigate their way through so much information and all these professionals saying you need to do this and you need to do that, because that is how they're making business and staying relevant. The answer is usually it depends. And so you have to be very realistic with what your goals are. What is your lifestyle like right now? And how can you make new habits and, new positive habits become normal? And anything that is kind of holding you back, self-defeating, not helping you progress in your goals or with your goals, then are you able or willing to cut that in half or completely remove it? And then be consistent with it. You have to be really honest with yourself. So it really depends on where you're at right now for fitness, food, and health. So if you're not working out so far, hello, nice to meet you online. So I'm talking about fitness, food, health, just generic stuff right now. This is the stuff that a lot of people come to me for as a personal trainer. And in my book, I tap into some things in there, but it's more of a storytelling type of thing, and mixed with astrology and life circumstances and stuff like that. But fitness was one of the things that I did to help me move through a lot of difficult times. And a lot of clients that I do work with, the ones who've made the most progress, of course, are the ones who are the most consistent. So they don't make excuses. They get into a routine, no matter if they're slow or they have injuries, or, they're not good right now. Then they're just the most consistent because they stick with it the longest. It's so hard. I'm still new at doing lives because it's really hard to just talk to myself and have just generic things. I don't know. Okay. So if you have any comments or questions about like fitness in general, maybe I'll answer it in another video, or like nutrition or something like that. But it depends. That's like the main thing. Look at where you're starting and how do you make realistic, changeable habits to progress. So if you're not going to the gym at all, then your main concern is just making it into the gym, or whatever activity of choice that is for you, whether that's swimming, Pilates, group classes, whatever works for you, whatever is going to be enjoyable enough for you to stick with it in the long run, or long enough to move up to the next level of whatever interest that is. Food wise, you also have to be honest with what you're consuming, especially on weekends. It's the most common self-defeating limitation that people run into. And realize like alcohol is a huge kind of self-defeat for most people. Just drinking alcohol can kind of slow down your fat burning process by a few days. And so, oh my God, Yuki, maybe I shouldn't put you in videos. So if you're willing to take out the alcohol, the longer you can go without it, the more successful you'll be in the long run. In my 2 bodybuilding shows that I did like 10 years ago for figure, you're not allowed to drink alcohol at all. So you're not even allowed to have any cheese or dairy, except for eggs, if you consider that as dairy. And you're following a very strict religious diet. And I'm eating, when I was cutting, every 2 to 3 hours, starting from like whenever I woke up before training clients at like 4, 5 a.m. And trying to spread out my 6 meals a day until I was done at work, which was like at 8 or 9 p.m. And then drinking like a gallon of water a day religiously. And that was already starting off at a pretty lean weight, and I have a lot of muscle mass already. And leaning down from maybe 24% body fat all the way down to 9% body fat in about 3-4 months, you know? So that is how long it takes to lean out. And you already have to be pretty religious with your workouts, like working out every day. So not everyone is already there. So you have to be realistic with what works for you, what your body can handle, because if you go too hard too fast, your body is not going to recover fast enough in order to, you know, make it. You know, you're going to start having all kinds of joint pain, knee pain, depends on your age, any past injuries, all of these things. And then supplementation, I just brought like a few things out here. I have links with a discount on my actual page. If you click on my name and you go to the description section, and Yuki, description section, click more, you'll see links there. I do get a percentage from them, but they are good quality supplements. I actually do use them. My favorite one is, what is it? Magnesium. And I take it before bed, and I've noticed that it helps with sleep, or I have better quality sleep. I've noticed, and I value sleep a lot, you know, and so you actually do a lot of muscle repair and recovery while you're sleeping. So sleep is really important. So if you have a hard time falling asleep, that's going to affect your performance in the gym and energy levels. Yuki, that's not nice. And how well your muscles develop and all that stuff. What else? So yeah, you almost have to kind of fall in love with the process more than being fixated with how fast your results are going to come. I've been working out with weights for about almost 15 years, you know, and my foundational background is about 16 years of ballet, 9 years of tennis when, you know, childhood development stage, you know, so I've always had that kind of movement background. And so, you know, you have to be realistic with what kind of foundation are you working with, and, you know, how much body control you're having to kind of work with? How long has it been since you've last worked out? Because a lot of people who come back to me who have questions, they've kind of fallen out of a routine, or they just don't know what to do. They just need someone to hold them accountable to kind of get back into that routine and habit. And so that's where classes come in handy, or doing a lot of research and just being self-motivated to kind of attempt and try new movements and just practice them over and over again, or actually reaching out and hiring some kind of trainer in order to teach you those kind of things, and research your trainers too, because, you know, there's different types of fitness, you know, so depending on what you're looking for, weight loss, or if you're more focused on aesthetics or the look of things, you're looking more for a bodybuilding styled workout. So focusing more on certain muscle groups and really tearing up that the muscle fibers in whatever area you're really trying to work on. And okay, no, no, ma'am. Yeah. Really, no, down. So what you're doing when you're using weights is in order to build muscle, is you're trying to create a bunch of teeny tiny little tears in your muscle fibers. So this way, when you're repetitively, you know, doing this to yourself, your muscles are like, oh my God, this keeps happening to us. I guess we're the ones who have to adapt, aka your muscles, in order to get stronger and tolerate more, you know, and then over time you get a little bit stronger, you can tolerate a little bit more weight for the same amount of reps. Maybe you can do a lot more within the same amount of time because your endurance levels are better as well. Your cardiovascular is better because weights can sometimes, depending on how you do it, can feel like cardio. So you're creating a ton of little muscle fiber tears in order for them to grow. That's kind of the idea. So you have to do it over and over and over again, but also allow your body to recover and rest in order for that to happen. And so that's when also food comes into play. So if you're trying to build muscle, you do need to eat more. So you can't necessarily be afraid to eat. So that's where a lot of females tend to kind of fall trap to. You have to embrace the thick stage and kind of eat more, but hopefully your desired body weight in grams per day of protein. And that can kind of vary because some people, their desired body weight is a little bit low for what's healthy. But ideally, kind of, if you're not crazy overweight or obese, then it's usually kind of like your body weight currently in pounds, translated into grams per day, if you're working out hard enough in order for that to kind of see results, you know. And I recommend, if you're starting out, you know, it depends on what level you're at. If you want to notice changes aesthetically, like the visual aesthetics of your body change, you need to do weights at least 3 times a week to see that kind of change start to happen. And that will, I've seen a variety of people. Some people respond, their bodies respond pretty fast, and some people's bodies respond kind of slow. You know, that's why earlier when I said consistency wins. People who are consistent, they're not so fixated or get beat up by the results or seeing results fast enough. They usually win in the long run, just like the tortoise and the hare. And usually they're kind of, when they started off, they were kind of the weakest link. And when I started with them, I had to do a lot of weird stuff in order for their bodies to actually kind of move in the way that I wanted them to, because they didn't have that mind muscle connection, or they're not very intuitive with their bodies, which there's a lot of people who are like that. A lot of my super smart people, or like engineers, people who work with spreadsheets a lot and numbers, they tend to be really, they have a harder time being intuitive with their own body, you know, and so they usually need a little bit extra help to learn how to feel through the movement. And so I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, consistency wins in the long run. So fall in love with the process and the habit change, and you know, use whatever motivates you, whether that's a person, an influencer, whatever that may be, in order to keep progressing and continuing. Tapped into a little bit of food, supplements. Make sure you take like fish oil. This is omega-3 fish oil from Lifetime. So it's all natural. They have the GMP stamp, which is really hard to get. And each batch is tested. They have like, they go through a lot of randomized tests for all of their supplements. So it's really good, you know, Yuki. So yeah, I recommend multivitamin fish oil for your joints and just health in general if you don't eat fish all the time. And magnesium is my favorite. This one's a calcium magnesium over there. Calcium magnesium, and it's for, well, I notice for sleep. But yes, support strong bones, nervous system, muscle function, recovery. Also, any kind of whey protein shake helps, because most people that I come across when we talk about food and nutrition, they tend to not consume enough protein for what they're kind of looking for. And so you need enough, you know, whatever choice you want, all fish or chicken, lean, ground beef, ground turkey, eggs, protein shakes, or you have to eat a ton of plants if you're more vegan, and it's really, really hard. I find that that group has a harder time getting enough protein, unless you love to eat all the time, or you have to eat a lot of peas, because peas is like, I think, the highest in protein for a vegetable, or one of the highest ones. That's why they have like pea protein powders out there. But yeah, you'd have to eat a lot in order to like really notice a difference with it. So when you really fine tune your food along with your workout regimen, then you'll start noticing a difference. But it depends on where you're starting, of course, you know, and then what is your tolerance level? Because a lot of people that I work with in person, it's like their bandwidth of what they can tolerate is, I know they're capable of more, and I try to get them there, but they're not willing to get there themselves. They stop, you know, and I can never control somebody else. You know, you have to have the will to do that, and hopefully find that happy medium to where you also don't injure yourself. Your form is really good, you know, so always work on your form. If you are starting lower or lighter or a beginner, you cannot do that. Oh my God. Oh no. So yeah, so if you can tolerate a little bit enough of challenge where your face is kind of red and you really have to fight it a little bit without overcompensating, then, you know, you'll progress a lot faster. And that helps with continuing, because you're going to notice the progress in the mirror, not just the scale. So yeah, I think that's just in general. I've already talked for 20 minutes. So write in the comments below any questions. Most of the time, my answers are going to be, it depends, you know? So the more specific you can be, the more I can kind of tailor to something. But the main thing is you have to actually get out there and go do it. You have to actually go practice the thing that you're dreaming about or fantasizing about or wishing for, you know, because I've come across a lot of people who want and wish and feel like, ugh, like they're unhappy, or they come after having babies, you know, and that kind of disrupts your old life. And now your focus is on, you know, keeping your kids alive, and you have less focus on yourself, or you're tired and you're juggling all the different things. And so getting back into a routine and making it a habit is the most important thing. Because if the habit is not there, then it's going to eventually fall apart, or it's never going to happen. Just like if you stop brushing your teeth one day, eventually over time, you're going to get cavities, or you're going to lose your teeth. Or I think if you ever need surgery in the future, I think they even check if you have any cavities or infections in your mouth, because that relate somehow. I'm not a doctor, but you can also your major surgeries, if that ever happens later on in life, that can be kind of put on hold if you don't go to the dentist and get whatever's checked up fixed or addressed, you know. So, you know, those are things to kind of look out for. So yeah, supplement discount is in my description page if you want a one-time checkout discount. I think it's, I don't remember, 10% off. If you do auto ship, I think it's 15 or 20% off, something like that. But they're good quality products. And then my book, a little bit of everything in there. Good for people who are going through a hard time. That's one of the reasons why I started working out in the first place. Is it was the one thing I did for myself and for nobody else. And it was like a pick-me-up of feeling good, like a mental health thing. And it was the one positive thing that I noticed in the mirror of, you know, like kind of boosting my self-esteem when I had no control over my life and other stuff. But it gets into relationship things in there too. Just other general, maybe interesting, I don't know, like an interesting story. And it hops around a little bit. And my psychosis thing, which is like a adventure alone in itself. So check that out. It's on Amazon. There's a link in my description box below for that too. If it's kind of hard to find, because I'm not a famous person at all or anything like that. And if you need a search for my name first, type that in, Natasha Greenwood, and trigger to change. But yeah, there's a description box in there, and it's self-published book, you know. It was a fun process to do it. I had no help, no publisher, no whoever. Towards the very, very end, I got one of my old clients who's like one of the dermatologists, professors who wrote one of the textbooks on dermatology. That's according to my friend who was a resident of him. I had no idea. He's very modest. And when he edited anything, because I suck at editing, and I point out in here that I have Chiron and Gemini, so you're going to get a little bit of astrology in here. you know, and like with food, like I have Scorpio ruling my second house of Taurus, you know, and, you know, if you don't know, Taurus is known to have the munchies, and I have Venus in Scorpio in my second house at 28 degrees. So, you know, it's almost like I can get very fixated with eating really bad food, which is very true. I can be a binge eater. And I can also be very obsessed with self-worth things. So body image, the scale, physique, things like that. And so that kind of reflects in my birth chart. And so knowing your own personal birth chart can kind of give you little clues and a higher level of awareness as to kind of who you are and what you need to kind of break free from. So these planets and planetary alignments and things that are in your natal chart, it's almost like an anchor, like it's weighing you down, and it's really hard to kind of, it might be limiting, especially if it's like your Saturn or your Chiron placement. So once you kind of work on those things, even if it's slow, it kind of helps you break free of these planetary holds. So this way you can kind of do more of what you want, you know. So my Chiron in Gemini, it's like I used to be a mute, you know, like when I was young, I literally have been called a mute. I have been told like, oh my God, I've never heard your voice before. And sometimes at the lunch table, at school, intermediate school, whenever, I'm like the quietest person at the table. I'm really good at listening, hearing, and observing, but not really speaking, not good at small talk at all, because I don't really care about small talk, and it's just really hard for me to do that. Or I had to learn how to become a little bit better at it. And so people would get kind of frustrated with me, like, say something, you know, anything. And nothing would literally come into my brain, and I would be like, and I'd still be quiet. And so, you know, working on that, and I have Saturn in the third house as well in Sagittarius. Like I've actually worked on that. So, you know, writing, I didn't know I was going to be a writer. You know, I had no intention of doing that, and here I am. And speaking on something like YouTube, when with my phobia of public speaking and talking like that, you know, I would never thought that I would be doing something like this, you know, like 10, 20, 30 years ago. So, you know, you can evolve and change if you're willing to put in the work. And so working out, you know, helps with that, because you can see the progress over time. And other things, you know, like when you put in the work, if you have a plan, especially if you have a good plan, you can actually see the results, and it keeps you even more motivated to keep going. If you have a plan and it ends up being like not the best plan, well, you have to make adjustments to the plan and see and experiment if that works for you, or you just ask for help, and hopefully it is the right kind of help. So I'm going to end my rambling. Thank you for anyone who dropped by or stayed the entire time. So yeah, I will put a title on this. It's called Fitness, Food, and Supps, you know. And so catch you later in other random lives. So hopefully it was kind of informative, because it's general, because I'm talking to myself on my phone. Okay. Bye.